piece on my hand. So immediately the 5 of us went on hunger strike. And my ulcer bled and I had to be transferred to the hospital. That was the so-called habeas corpus right that we had. You tried it at your own risk of being severely punished. The second time I went to the habeas corpus case is when they tried to force me to do manual labor. That was in 1972. They said all detainees should do manual labor as a program of rehabilitation. I was supposed to do carpentry. So this superintendent told me, it's good for you as a doctor, you try to become more dexterous with your hands. So I said, you do not have the qualification to enter a medical college. And here you're trying to tell a doctor what is good for postgraduate education. Are you overreaching yourself? So they said, this is the law. You have to, we pay you 8 cents a day. So we all went on hunger strike. And some of us went on hunger strike for 3 months in order to frustrate the attempt to make us laborers like criminals. I went on hunger strike for 3 weeks before they came in and said, okay, we exempt you from that. The women detainees in the New Crescent Center went on hunger strike for 130 days. And they were force fed. Some of them vomited after being fed by the milk by the tube, inserted forcibly into their esophagus. One girl vomited, and the superintendent forced 4 warders to carry her and wipe the floor with her pants. This is the kind of treatment method to detainees. All this, of course, suppressed in the press. But that's the thing that we all had to go through. Now, all of us had to go through this detention in solitary confinement. Now, solitary confinement, according to Lee Kuan Yew himself, is a very bad form of torture. I'll read to you what Lee Kuan Yew said about solitary confinement. Quote, the biggest punishment a man can receive is total isolation. In a dungeon, black and complete withdrawal of all stimuli. That is real torture. Lee Kuan Yew, January 2008. Although he knows that it's real torture, he had no compunction in meting out this real torture to all detainees without exception. Some of us had to undergo this real torture, not for 2 days, 3 days, but for 6 months. Now, under the law, there is a protection for even criminal prisoners from this kind of torture. A criminal prisoner, when found guilty of infringing prison rules, will be sentenced to solitary confinement for not more than 2 weeks because of the obvious mental ill health effects. But for political detainees, there is no protection. Lee Yu Sing, the Director General, the General Manager of Nanyang Sangpao, was put into solitary confinement not once but twice. And to his credit, he stood that kind of real torture. T.T. Raja, a lawyer, was detained for 2.5 years, was put under solitary confinement for 6 months, twice. Said Jahari was put under solitary confinement 4 times in his long 17 years of detention. Now, it is to our credit that we did not break down in spite of this real torture. We stood our ground and held on to our integrity. Today, we are asking us to be magnanimous. What does magnanimity do? Only those who have suffered has the moral right, moral standing to be magnanimous, not the culprit. The culprit can seek forgiveness if they admit their mistakes and apologize for it. Not for the victims of this torture to seek forgiveness. We are the one who has to be magnanimous, and we are prepared to be magnanimous provided the culprits admit their mistakes and seek out forgiveness. In my statement that I released to the press in 1972 through my wife, Dr. Christian, and which was of course suppressed by the newspapers, but was distributed a lot to all student organizations. I say the proper way to settle our case is that you must release us without conditions, unconditional release, and moreover, you must compensate us for a long detention and also apologize. I say I'm prepared to forego these two last conditions of having to compensate us and also having to apologize to us. Because I don't believe an arrogant man like this one will concede that. The question of release unconditionally, that we stand firm. I stood firm and had to suffer for 2 decades. That is the price we have to pay for our integrity. In Singapore, we have a situation where the government leaders said they have integrity that has to be sustained by the highest pay in the world. And that they demand from political opponents and detainees an integrity that has to sustain the longest imprisonment in the world. This kind of 2 types of integrity, to compare them is to compare heaven and earth. Why should anybody has to sacrifice so much just to sustain his integrity and his beliefs? And government can have to reward themselves with so much high pay. This is the immorality of the political situation in Singapore today. Now, detention without trial is not a peaceful action. It's an act of violence. We come to see you not in the day-night with the invitation card. We come in the morning, 4 a.m. is the usual time. That's the time when decent people sleep and when political terrorists and tyrants strike. And when you're detained, you're subjected to all kinds of mental and even physical torture. This is not only unique for the 1963 batch, it was also practiced in many other batches of detention, 1972, and as late as 1987. Teo So Ran and her group of so-called Marxist detainees were subjected to physical and mental and physical torture. Ms. Teo So Ran is here. I hope she will come up and indicate to her how her batch have been tortured. Physically, we are women lawyers, and the women lawyers can be subjected to torture. Now, when these women lawyers came out and issue a statement to describe how they have been tortured, they were again detained and compelled to withdraw their accusation. Now, what type of rule of law is there when the accuser can be punished by the accused, that's the government, and compelled to withdraw the accusation? It's a rule of law of justice turned upside down. Now, this is a situation that even the law society dare not utter a word of protest. It is so important after what they have done to the law society in 1987.